Hello guys, it's Ben from NGB here. We are live in LA, sunny, beautiful LA. Day one of E3 is done. That's it. Never going to happen again, E3 2016. We played some games today, we played quite a few games actually, so what we're going to do is me and Gary are going to head back to the hotel and we're going to get a podcast going, so that's what you're about to hear. Hello guys, and yes, as I've said from the video intro, we are now back in our hotel room and we are going to discuss everything that we saw today from E3 Day 1 2016. So you're starting with myself, Ben, and again I'm joined by Gary.
How's it going, mate?
Yeah, it's been a busy one today.
Yeah.
We've seen plenty of stuff. What would you say your highlight of the first day has been?
The highlight, it have to be PES again.
Yeah.
Obviously I played it during the PES day a few weeks back. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, it's the same code as what I played, but it's no bad thing because it was so good. So spent a lot of time there today. Everyone seems positive about it. I know there's a few people sort of on social media, I'm not mentioning names, who are a bit sort of negative about certain things, but once you sort of get it in your hands and play it, you'll realise just how good it is. So yeah, really good.
I mean, you're always going to get people that whinge about stuff.
Yeah, that's true. And it is, to be fair, it is difficult unless you've played it. Like, you can only go by what you see, I suppose. But yeah, you can't just hold back with the negativity and wait until you play it. That's what I would say. But
yeah, I mean, I've sort of had a few goes on PES today as well, and I've got to say, like we also went over to the EA Play thing and played some FIFA, and the difference is night and day.
Yeah.
I'll make no words about it. I've fallen a little bit out of love with football on football games, but I'll still pick PES up and I'll still play it.
Yeah.
I used to be massively into PES. Like, I sort of was there from the founding of WEMP, like following everything and all that. But yeah, like it seems like they've really almost nailed it this year, I think.
I think
for everything so far. I mean, there's still some kinks to work out in terms of, I think you were saying about that single player AI and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like, well, it definitely plays really well.
Yeah, definitely. Like, that's the one thing straight away you sort of notice with it is the gameplay. It's so smooth, and there's a lot of depth to it as well. Like, if you want to play a certain way, you can. It's not like before, like previous years. Like last year, it was a bit sort of restrictive in how you wanted to your approach to games you wanted to play. But now, if you want to play defensive and stay defensive, you can, and it just feels so open and sort of organic. Which I really like. Obviously, we played FIFA 17 as well. To be brutally honest, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I'm just being honest. I found it sluggish. Graphically, it wasn't very nice. I know it's early, so there's a lot of time to sort of flesh it out in that regard. But
there's a lot being made about it moving to Frostbite and everything else, but it's still played like FIFA.
Really rigid.
Yeah,
at time.
It didn't have that. I mean, the first thing you notice about PES is like it feels a lot more natural.
Yeah.
Like the ball comes to somebody and like the first touch that they take, it always, depending on how you react to it, the first touch will make the difference in the play.
Yeah, depending who it is as well, which makes a difference. So if you whack a ball into a centre back, it's gonna be like a touch really sort of heavy.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
but they didn't really have that with FIFA, and there was some stuff in there where, like, I think we discussed afterwards and said that you can essentially hold down a button for a pass and ping it, expect it to be pinged across the field, and it just sort of rolls off.
Yeah, the passing was really odd. Like, I remember I had the ball, I think it was with Hazard, and I held the button down, the bar went right up, and I was expecting it to whip it across the other side of the pitch, and it just sort of like went halfway across the pitch, and I was like, well, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Obviously, ball physics comes into play, but there was nothing to sort of say that it should have done that. And I just found other parts of it just a bit clunky, to be totally honest. I just couldn't get sort of a fluid sort of play going with it.
No.
And that was we played a game, and I played someone else, just some other journalists there. But I checked out the story stuff, which is essentially you can play the whole game, and then the player Hunter is his name, I think it is. Yeah, he comes on or whatever. But I'd done it where you take control of just the one player.
Yeah.
And I can see what they're trying to do because it's got a very sort of NBA 2K My Career style to it. But it felt a little bit cheesy, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's. I mean, obviously the NBA stuff it's directed by Spike Lee, so that's going to have.
That was only this year, but I mean they've been doing that My Career stuff for years, so they've sort of tailored it perfectly. But FIFA sort of underwhelming, to be honest. I didn't expect it to feel like that because normally, like last year, for instance, E3 code of FIFA 16 was really good, and then it seems to gradually get worse the more they tinker with it.
Because I remember we played it at Gamescom as well, and that seemed to be. They seemed to be impressing at that stage, and it was there was a lot of I certainly had a lot of love from us at that stage.
It's a weird one this year. I don't know if it struggles with the engine or it's really it is early code, but I mean, like if you compare it to last year's early code, last year's was better. But yeah, I think it must be an engine thing.
Yeah, I mean, we alluded to, when we were playing the game, we alluded to one of the devs that it might take a little while for things to possibly get going with the Frostbite engine.
Yeah.
And I think there wasn't really any committal either way to say it's probably going to take us a while. It just sort of seemed to be but. Yeah, I think that's probably the best word to use is underwhelming for it, really.
Yeah, it's just it's a strange one that. But yeah, as I was saying earlier, graphically, I wasn't impressed either, which is because FIFA's normally
that's the really odd thing. Like
FIFA normally gets
all this fuss about them moving to the new engine, and it going to be looking incredible. And up close, it does look quite nice.
Up close, it's very nice.
But when you're playing the game in terms of you've got the field there. It doesn't really look that much different to last year, and it's a really strange one.
Yeah, but I do the one thing I do like. I like the pace of it. I think that was quite nice.
Yeah,
and the camera angle, the pitch, I quite liked as well. But it's just a shame that I just couldn't get to grips with the gameplay. Maybe next time I play it, I will enjoy it more. But the code here at E3, underwhelming is definitely the right word I'd use.
I think
to be honest,
you're probably right on that. So, I mean that was your highlight. While you were playing PES, I was taken behind closed doors with Sony and got to see 2 demos of some things that were in the conferences. Got to see an extended gameplay demo for God of War.
Okay.
Which was basically the same demo that was in the press conference.
Right.
But they'd put a little bit more explanation into things, so they kind of, instead of just ploughing straight on, they
had more time, obviously.
They stopped and looked around. It's going to be a very different God of War game. I mean, obviously, it was noticed in the press conference that they've had this. The camera now is very tight on Kratos. It's a third-person game, and this was to the dev that we had was explaining it, and he basically said this is because the game is now about Kratos and his son. So it's the same Kratos from the Greek mythology.
Yeah.
He's just kind of now. He's survived through to the Norse mythology now. So he's there, and he's got to battle the Norse gods. He's essentially got quite a lot of tools at his disposal. There's a crafting element, so you can go through the world, and instead of just finding like red orbs as you normally would in the chests, because the chests are still there, like you still would to punch chests open and get things from them. But instead of just having orbs, they've got like materials in there, so you have to craft different weapons.
Okay, that's cool.
They did say that there's an elemental side to it as well. So like the troll that you saw in the E3 gameplay demo, the press conference demo.
Yeah.
That troll was a fire troll.
Oh, right, okay.
And Kratos had an ice axe.
Nice.
So that did more damage. They've changed a lot. They've changed the combat round. The combat isn't on the face buttons anymore, so you don't mash square all the time. It's now the shoulder buttons.
Okay.
there is a dedicated button to get Kratos' son to help you out.
I did wonder how that.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was very, like Last of Us, where it's contextual with how.
There is an automatic element to it,
right. But you've got the option to.
Yeah, so you can, if you want to, like, call him in to help out.
Okay.
It seems really impressive. Like they've made some changes to it that just mix it up in the right ways, I think. It would have been cool to have another crazy combo, filled Kratos, God of War game, and with Kratos losing his shit and throwing the blades of chaos everywhere and swinging them around. But this one seems the combat seems a lot more measured and a lot more focused.
Yeah, more sort of. I know it sounds stupid saying this because it's a God of War game and they're not grounded, but this one seems more grounded.
Yeah, it's a lot more like the combat. At least is a lot more methodical
and more cinematic. Obviously, the way the camera is and
they were really keen to repeatedly push home the fact that this is like a father-son story.
Yeah,
and it's a very intimate story that it's going to be about Kratos bringing his kid up and them finding their way through this adventure.
Yeah.
So it's a really, I mean, to be honest, it'll be fascinating to see where they go with it.
Definitely, yeah.
I was really impressed with it. Then after that, I went to go and see Days Gone.
Right, yeah. Let's talk about that because I'm sort of intrigued by it, but I'm still a bit sort of up in the air with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I want to say that I loved it, but there's something that's not quite there for me with it. I don't know what it is. It seems to be that there were bits in it that were very much almost taken scene for scene from The Last of Us.
Yeah.
The demos both the demos that we saw were essentially the same demos that were on the press stage, so both God of War and for Days Gone. But the Days Gone demo, they took a different path through the sawmill.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, like it seemed a bit flat. I don't know what it was. There didn't seem to be a huge amount of tension in it.
Yeah,
like it was kind of almost like the guy was going through the motions. Obviously, he's played the demo a million times to get ready for E3. So I don't know whether that was intentional or whatever, but there didn't seem to be that element of danger to it. There is a lot more, obviously there's a hell of a lot more work to do on the game, and I think there's going to be something where when the Horde catches up with you, they'll be able to maul you to bits and stuff. But yeah, it just seemed a bit flat, and I don't know. I don't know what it was.
That's the sort of feeling I got from watching it at the press conference, if I'm totally honest. I know Bender are a good studio, they're a very talented studio, but I don't know, there was something about this game, it didn't click with me. I don't know if it just seemed a little sort of, not, sparse is probably the wrong, it just seemed, I know we've mentioned previously that it's got a sort of similar element as Dead Rising, but the reason Dead Rising works is because it's just it's zany, it's mental. This to me just seemed, I don't know if it was just the cut of the demo they showed, but it just seemed to me like horde, shoot,
it's
horde,
very
horde,
self-serious
shoot,
as well, I think.
Yeah.
Like there didn't seem to be a huge amount of humour in it, which obviously Dead Rising's got as well.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's
a weird one, that, isn't it?
I mean, it's interesting. We'll see what happens with it. I'm not 100% sold on it as it is.
Yeah.
But the tech's impressive. Like that, the tech behind the Horde.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very impressive. Yeah.
It just looks like liquid pouring over things. Like when there's that many, and it's really cool. But I'm not 100% sold.
It's intriguing because obviously it's a first-party studio, so they're normally pretty good. And Bender are, like I said, talented studio. But yeah, I'm like you. I'm not sold on it as such yet. But we'll have to keep an eye on it because it could turn out to be.
Yeah, if they get it right,
it
could be really impressive. I just think that there were moments where they, like something jumped on his back and he had to hammer square and stab it, and I thought it was very Last of Us-esque. And the comparison was brought up during the Q&A that we had, and the guy essentially said, "This is the other end of the spectrum." Like The Last of Us is very serious.
Yeah.
This is, or very very sparse in terms of enemies.
Doesn't take itself sort of serious. Or
Well, I think probably used the wrong word in there. Like he essentially said that like with The Last of Us, there's not that many enemies, so if you want to, you can like stealth your way through a section.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, it's just there's shitloads of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, it could be really cool. We'll have to see what happens with it.
Yeah, obviously it's because it's so early as well. We don't know the sort of how their vision with it is, or we just don't know.
It's they did say there's a lot. There's quite a few more areas.
Right.
It's
okay.
not all going to be like in the forests and stuff.
Yeah.
There'll be like abandoned suburbs and small cities and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
So,
yeah.
yeah, there's some potential there, but it's not an immediate. Holy shit! This is an amazing
exactly.
game kind of moment.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was the stuff at Sony. Then I sort of ventured out onto the show floor and immediately regretted my decision.
Oh, it's crazy
because it's rammed. Like unless you get on the show floor first thing and actually get into a queue early, you're probably going to be queuing for the whole day.
Definitely, yeah.
Which is a shame because like it just seems. I've been saying this to you. It seems like it's really sparse.
Yeah, definitely it does this year.
Obviously, we've had Activision pull out. We've had Konami pull out of the show floor. We've had EA pull out completely.
Disney,
obviously, have pulled out of the industry. But it's there's just not that many big booths this year. I think they could probably all cram it into one hall if they wanted to.
To be honest, they probably could because like I went down there. It wasn't for long. Southall, which it had 2K in it. It had Warner Brothers, Ubisoft, and pretty much that was it.
Yeah,
they had like a few random like T-Mobile that was in there, which is not many people was going over there. But like the 2K booth was super impressive.
Yeah,
it was
the 2K booth looks amazing.
Mafia-free sort of New Orleans bar sort of setting, and it looked incredible. And then Ubisoft had a massive section with Watch Dogs 2, etc.
And Capcom have got the Resident Evil house as well.
Oh, sorry, yeah, and Capcom had the Resident Evil house, which looked really good as well.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
And then Warner Brothers had a little sort of section or whatever, and then that was pretty much it. But this, like, if you would have compared it to last year, that hall would have had tons in it.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, this is only my second E3.
Yeah.
But the first one was 2 years ago, and the difference.
Yeah.
It's massive.
It's definitely a change.
I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but I think after I'd sort of been on the show floor, we had some appointments over at EA. We sort of had a wander over to LA Live and got in, played some FIFA. As we've discussed. And then we popped through, and I played some Battlefield 1, which looks impressive. Like it really does.
So one question before you sort of carry on. Was it the PC version running, or was it?
Yeah, I was just going
Xbox
to say they had it running on quite a beefy PC.
Right. Okay.
And it did look really impressive, but you'd kind of expect that on the PC. It's a World War One shooter.
Yeah.
They've obviously thrown in some machine guns and stuff as kind of a standard thing.
Yeah.
But it's it's more Battlefield.
Yeah.
I don't really know like how much more people can take from that. Like they've mixed it up in the right kind of ways. Obviously, say with the World War One setting, it's not as. I don't want to say it's not as manic because it's Battlefield. It always will be, but it's not as constant with the radio chatter and stuff like that.
It's sort of more focused then.
Yeah, it's more environmental.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Was that I take it you was doing like multiplayer on that?
Yeah, it was a 64-player map,
right,
so
okay.
they had 64 stations, and it's not until you get out and see like 64 monitors like next to each other that you realise just how many people that is. It's like, whoa, okay, that's
crazy. Yeah,
that's huge. They mentioned in the video beforehand that there's going to be maps in like in the desert, in the forests, in cities.
Interesting.
The town that we played in was a small little French city.
All right.
small little French town, that said, it's not been touched by the war up until now, at which point we fucking annihilated it. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things, like the Zeppelins come in on the losing team.
Right.
So if you're getting absolutely hammered, it will spawn a Zeppelin for you, which kind of just helps to
balance
sway,
it out.
to swing the tide.
Has it still got like the destruction element?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because I didn't sort of. I know obviously we've only seen sort of trailers. And I sort of didn't really pay attention to it, to be honest. But I was just wondering if they kept that. It makes perfect sense. To
if you hide yourself away in a building, that can easily get destroyed.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they've said basically no two games will ever be the same,
right? Okay.
Because of all the destructibility and also the weather's dynamic in it as well.
Oh wow!
So if you can start a match off and it might be nice and sunny, but then the clouds are rolling and it'll start raining throughout the game.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think they said if it's raining, you can your characters can slip over and stuff like that. You might not to the point of it being like a comedy, but you could potentially slip and
lose your footing.
Yeah.
Cool, yeah. I am very intrigued by it because I've sort of with first person. I'm not a massive first person shooter fan, but I've just had enough of the advanced warfare stuff. If I'm totally honest, and I've been looking to either World War I or World War II for a while.
It's nice to have that pulled back.
Yeah, and the last time we had a World War II game was wow.
World at War, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so, and that's few years
7 or 8
back.
years
yeah,
back.
So obviously this is World War One, but I mean they're very similar in sort of how they look, rather than how we get now with like advanced sort of warfare style stuff.
Yeah, it's a far cry from like space and all that. So. Although speaking of that, we then packed up from Battlefield and we both went to play Titanfall 2.
Yeah. I was really impressed by this because, like I said to you before I went in, I never played Titanfall, the original.
Yeah.
I just never sort of really had an interest, and I thought, you know what, let's give this a go. And it was so new to me, but it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
Apart from some guy who had a headset on,
some guy that didn't quite understand the concept of a microphone and a headset.
Oh my god. But yeah, I thought it was really good. Considering that's my first experience with it, I didn't really know what to expect from it, to be honest. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know, like, you played a lot of the original Titanfall.
I loved the original one. I played a lot of it on PC.
What was the sort of big differences for you in terms of...
to be honest, it did seem like more of the same.
Yeah.
But there was... Essentially, they threw the 2 new classes of Titan in there too. They said there's 6 new classes of Titan.
Yeah.
They put 2 on display today.
Pilot and...
One of them was the core, which is like the special ability. One unleashes a load of flames.
Yeah, I had that at one point.
Yeah, and I had the other one was like a laser one.
Yeah.
Which essentially, when you activate the core, it massive laser just comes out of its chest. And it's really cool. But yeah, like it's still the same fast-paced. It's a fast-paced shooter. It makes you feel like a badass even if you're not doing that well.
Definitely, yeah.
Because it spawns all the grunts and the other enemies, so you can the Sentinels, I think it is, so you can essentially pick off these AI enemies without actually knowing it. And that was quite cool. But it felt nice to... I know this is probably going to sound like a fanboy type comment, but it felt nice to play it with a PS4 controller.
Yeah, definitely.
Like
a lot of the EA stuff is Xbox sort of centered around, but
I mean, I think they were making a statement with this and going like, "Hey, it's coming to the PS4."
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like it's a really good game, and I think like the first one was, as I say, I really enjoyed that first one. I think it was my game of the year when it was when it was out, and.
I'm actually annoyed that I didn't play it now after playing the second one because I had so much fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still like dirt cheap on Xbox Live at the moment.
Yeah,
you can pick it up for like £6.
But then there's probably about 4 people playing it.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, hopefully that they can keep this audience alive a bit longer.
Yeah,
because that was the big problem with the first one.
Yeah,
I don't think they've done it too many favours by announcing that it's going to release in between Battlefield and Call of Duty.
That's still an odd decision, I think.
Yeah, it's like I think it's within 3 weeks or like a couple of weeks afterwards.
Surely one of them's got... If I had to guess, I'd say Titanfall 2 would probably be the one to push back rather than Battlefield. I don't know. Battlefield is probably the bigger...
It feels like a March game.
Yeah.
Like, you know, stick it out in March, and you know you won't have much competition, and it'll mop up for the month, and we'll see what happens. But
like Battlefield's the bigger brand name for EA.
yes,
so I can imagine if they were both there and they said, well, we've got to move one, I think Titanfall 2 would probably be the one.
I think I'd like to see, and I know this is a bit of a weird statement, but I'd almost like to see Titanfall pushed.
Because there's a lot coming out around sort of October, November time. So
October, I'm just going to have to like just speak to my landlord and say, look, you're not getting your rent this month.
Yeah, can you miss a couple of months?
Games. Yeah. But yeah, that was essentially day one of E3 for us. It was a lot of walking about, a lot of queuing. I also got to get some hands on with the new Xbox One controller.
Oh right, okay, nice.
The grip feels really nice on the back.
Yeah.
It's not like an immediate, like if you were to look at it, you think, what's wrong with that? But what's different about that? But there's a definite texture on the back, which just kind of gives you that little bit more grip.
Yeah.
And the shoulder buttons have got a bit more spring in them as well.
Right. Okay.
Because I know that's one of the big complaints about the bumpers.
The bumpers were weird on the original.
And they had the like the customization thing on display.
Nice.
So you could come up with your own concoctions as to the
colour scheme,
the colour schemes and stuff like that. Currently, it's only available in the UK, the US,
I thought as much.
Canada, and Puerto Rico for some reason, which is a bit bizarre. But I did ask, and they said they're looking to get the service rolled out worldwide as quickly as possible.
So it's called Design Lab, is it?
Yeah,
is that right?
Lab.
I had a feeling that it was going to be US only because that normally happens at the start.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying.
Logistically, it's probably quite.
It's a bit annoying, and hopefully they can push this out as quickly as possible. But
look, from like they showed like a little trailer with all the different colours, and that, I was quite shocked at how many options there are.
There's loads. Like you can, the one thing that they did show that you can't actually customise, but to that degree, there were a number of different Xbox buttons.
Right. Okay.
Like the Xbox button that you push in the top. They've got a number of different colours for those.
Oh, right.
But it has the colour of that has to match the body of the Xbox.
Okay.
So that'd be a cool customisation option if they threw that in.
Yeah.
You can't have it all.
But you can customise everything else, like the D-pad, the face buttons, and all that, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And front and back.
You can also get it laser engraved with your gamer tag if you want as well.
Okay.
Which,
it's good. I'd hate to think how much it's going to cost, but
I think it's $80, so it'll probably be about 50, 60 quid.
Yes.
I mean, you're looking at 45 quid.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it could be quite a cool thing if it's.
It's options, so it's never a bad thing having options. So.
Yeah, and I also saw the Xbox One S today as well. That thing is compact.
It's nice looking as well.
Yeah, it's probably. I don't want to sort of say it's about the same size as a PS4 because obviously you can't really compare that to two sides. Close to it. It's getting there. Yeah,
and they've finally got the power pack inside the console.
Yes, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Right? No more power brick.
Yeah, that's good. And it's only available in white, I assume.
I think at the moment, yeah.
I think that's the only colour they've shown.
They've got on show, yeah. So that really, as I say, that's the first day of E3. It's a weird show this year.
Yeah, it does feel different this year, I must say. I think, like we sort of alluded to earlier, it's just because there's so many like publishers that aren't here, and it just seems a bit sort of relaxed is probably the wrong word, but yeah, it just does feel different.
I mean, I don't want to use the word vacant because it's not.
Yeah.
There's definitely something amiss.
Yeah, definitely.
But we'll be back tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll be doing this again tomorrow. Hopefully, be able to get a few more thoughts on Go. And I think tomorrow we're seeing Warner Brothers tomorrow morning.
Yep.
We're also seeing Agents of Mayhem from Volition.
Yep.
F1 2016.
Yeah, that's in the afternoon. Yeah.
We're seeing 2K later on in the afternoon as well. So
a bit of Civ and Mafia.
Civ and Mafia, yeah. So anything we can get in between, we will do. We'll try and get as much seen as we possibly can.
Definitely.
I'm going to try and stop Gary from just hogging the PES booth. We'll be back tomorrow with some more thoughts.
Yep. Cool.
See you later.
Bye.